Was the Blues' offense problematic and the reason why they didn't make it to the playoffs? I'll let you know my thoughts coming up here on Locked on Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, I am Haley Taylor Simon, your host of Locked On Blues, talking to you all things about the St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode of Locked On Blues, I will be talking about the offense and asking the question, hey, was the offense problematic? I will be doing a new segment every Wednesday called What If Wednesday. And I think for this Wednesday, I'm going to start off with something that's going to make you a little bit upset because it made me upset. And I miss this one player a lot right now. Who is it and why? So, a lot to discuss on today's episode. Also, we hit 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube, which is actually insanity. It's also my 1 year anniversary next week with doing this podcast. But thank you all for your tremendous support. I love talking about the Blues. Obviously, I do a daily podcast talking about this team. And, I'm a fan as well. So it just means a lot. So thank you. And like always, let's go Blues. But before we get into today's episode, I just want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 with any winning $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. So I asked this question. Hey, listen, was the offense problematic? Was the offense the reason why the Blues didn't go to the playoffs? The answer is no. You don't go to the playoffs because it's a whole team sport. It's not just the defense. It's not just the offense. It's not just who's in net. It's not just special teams. It is literally the whole team. That is why it is called a hockey team because there is no I in hockey. I mean, there's an I in St. Louis, but not in hockey. But anywho, the reason why I bring this up is because honestly, I was really thinking about the offense and if they really had any problems that concerned me. And of course, you can look back at some of the games. I know I mentioned this yesterday with the defense, but with the Sharks, with the Columbus Blue Jackets, some of these teams where the Blues just didn't step up, right? And I think at the end of the day, sure, the offense could have been better. It could have been worse. There's a lot that basically to factor in. But when I'm looking at the team, especially teams when it comes to, not just records, but teams that just played well in the NHL, of course, the Blues were kind of in the middle, right? I think at the end of the day, when you just think about the fact that they were 16th overall this year when it comes to um, being the best worst team, Team 16 doesn't make the playoffs. Team 16 gets the worst best draft pick. Um, Basically what I am saying is that they were just a very average in the middle team. And for some, fine, that's an improvement from last season, 100%. But at the end of the day, I think that you really need to take in consideration that if this team wants to be a contending team again, a team that is going to be um a powerhouse again, because again, I told you that statistic about how they barely missed the playoffs throughout their whole time of being in the NHL since 67. So it is just an interesting thing when you really think about it when it comes to now I'm not trying to say when it comes to necessarily playoffs and success in the playoffs, when it just comes to the whole team overall, I just think that the Blues could do better. And the Blues, as I said, there were some strong suits about them, right? I mean, he finished 16th overall, which sucks because the Washington Capitals, I know they're in the East and not the West, but they made it to the playoffs and they were 17th overall when it comes to points this season. So obviously, it's a little bit disappointing. But here's the concern that I have. Power play percentage wasn't awful. They didn't it wasn't like that it was awful, right? They did fine in that sense, but it just at the same time, like, I just wanted to see a little bit better from St. Louis. and they just didn't strike me as a team that fell into just really good in any other categories, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, the offense, I mean, I think about guys that I love on the offense, right? Like a Robert Thomas, who was absolutely amazing, team's MVP, of course, this season. Jordan Cairo. I mean, he's a player that people love to hate, right? I think I'm accepted about that about Ruzi is that people just love to hate him. And then you have guys that are breakout players like a Jake Neighbors who played phenomenal. And then of course Captain Braden Shed. I mean, he did get a Hattie this season, and that in itself is a plus for the captain. He could have had a better season. Buchnevich again, he was clutch at times, right? And I think that he got kind of slept on just because he wasn't as standout as he usually is. But I mean, he did have a couple games where he won shootouts. He had a hat trick as well. I mean, he is definitely a playmaker, right? Nathan Walker, I mean, when they brought him, um, lights out his first couple games. But when it comes overall just to the season, you can say that the Blues' offense, hmm, the Blues' offense was definitely, it was all right. And even, like, I'm looking at the rest of the NHL, right? Because I'm always curious when it comes to, like, goals, right? Like, for instance, the Colorado Avalanche had 302 goals. So then I'm looking at us here in St. Louis, and we had 234, which is on the lower end of, the league, so that is not good. But again, you can't take that into consideration. I mean, sure, we didn't do well in some aspects, right? But at the same time, our penalty kill was average. I mean, it was in the middle, not great. Shots allowed, we had one of the best save percentages. So that just goes to the amazing goaltending that we have with Binnington and Hofer. But getting back to the offense, why I'm saying this is because they were just average. It wasn't like they were anything stellar. It wasn't like they were anything bad. And I look back to the season, right, and I think of just, even Sundqvist. I mean, he played well. Kevin Hayes, he did fine. I think I'm a little too hard on Kevin Hayes at times. He was fine. It sucks. Like Bolduc, I think there's so much potential with him too. Obviously, he got his first NHL goal on his 21st birthday. The Blues did lose that game though. But I just think about a lot of things that, comes up with this team's offense. Does this offense have an identity? Well, I said it before, whenever Robert Thomas takes initiative, they play a lot better. And, that is something I want to see more from the third line and the fourth line is you shouldn't need your first liner to really motivate your team like that. You need to find motivation within your own lines. And I think that the fourth line did have that chemistry, 100% with Alexi, um, Walker. I think they got along very well in that line, to be honest. But I think too, you also need to kind of question that third line, right, with Kevin Hayes. I told you this once and I'll say it again. He is such a good asset. I just think that they're using him wrong. And I know that he's played center for a long time, and I get that. But when they did have him in that left wing position, he absolutely flourished on the ice. And I actually liked a lot when Shenny was centering him. But it's a crazy thing to think about, right? How you really have talent, but yet it's not showing on the ice. And I think back to our team that won the cup and all of the, chemistry that they had, it showed on the ice. So it makes me think, is this team, because they seem to be getting along. Like when I interviewed them in the locker room, they all seem to be fine. And I think they generally do like each other. I do. But is it me or the vibe's a little bit off? And I worry about that. Because if you ask me what the biggest problem with the Blues are, I would still tell you to this day, and this whole off season until something has changed, it is the defense. Definitely not the goalies, okay? I trust Binner and I trust Hofer, but it's not the offense, but it's the special teams. And that contributes with some of the offense, right? The power play, the penalty kill, all of that. I think that, I mean, the penalty kill not as much because that's mostly on the defense, but I want some short handies, okay? I think every team does. But just going back to the offense, sure. They could have scored more goals would be nice, But am I gonna say that that was the main problem of why they didn't get into the playoffs? No. As I said, team sport, but did they contribute to some of the problems? And the answer is yes. And it's a simple yes. In the game of hockey, hockey is so simple when you think about it. Don't be offsides, don't hit people with your stick, don't trip people, score goals, and defend. It's a simple sport, kind of, right? No, it's not. And that's what makes it so complex, right? I mean, at the end of the day, these guys, they're good. It's a good team. It's not a great team, it's not an awful team, it's a good team. You can build off of it. See, the thing with the Blues is, like, they don't need to rebuild. They don't need to do all these things that maybe teams like the Kraken need to do, for instance. Where I mean, I know they have Schwartz, which bring him back. Do they have I know wait, I know they have Vince Dunn. Do they I thought they had Schwartz. Let me go check. But Vince Dunn too, bring him back. But I just, I wonder, about the Blues and if they will get back to the playoffs. And it makes me think of, like, what do they need to do? Makes me think. Yeah, I was right. It is the Kraken. See, the Kraken, here's the thing. The Kraken have all of the players that we basically loved a lot. Because Jaden Schwartz made a huge impact for us in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He was scoring goals like crazy, and it was absolutely madness, and I miss it. So the fact that, him and Vince Dunn are both on the Kraken, I'm like, very unfair. I mean, it is what it is, but like, come on, Seattle. I want our guys back. I am just so fixated on if we have our guys back because I miss that team. And it does not help watching all the reruns of the cup again. All right. So I'm going to talk to you with my friends over at FanDuel before I begin my new Wednesday segment. It's winner take all time in the NBA and NHL, and FanDuel's giving you a shot to bring home a big win of your own. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 to bet on spreads, money lines, player props, and more. Visit fanduel.com/locked on and make every playoff shot count. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. You already know what I'm doing. You got to do Panthers to win the cup because of Vladimir Tarasenko. I miss you, Vladdy. I'm going to root for you, Vladdy. Oh, also, this is something kind of random and not really, I guess, because we've all played against him at one point. Corey Perry is back in the Stanley Cup Finals again. And the thing about Corey Perry, remember the whole Corey Perry curse? He won the cup in '07 with the Anaheim Ducks, and then he went to 4 Stanley Cup Finals and has yet to win another cup. So this is number 4 for him. I I have to tell you, Corey Perry being on the Oilers could be the best or worst thing, because if the Oilers win the cup, then it's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, this is awesome, like, he finally did it." And if they don't win, it's like, "Oh, the curse of Corey Perry is real." Do you believe in the curse of Corey Perry? I mean, imagine winning the cup for the first time, your second season into playing in the NHL in '07, and then you go to the Stanley Cup Finals so many other times and you lose, and then you go back again, and it's like, "Okay, is the 4th time a charm?" We'll see. Good luck, Corey Perry. Kind of, because I do want Vladimir Tarasenko to win. Once a blue, always a blue. And this brings me into What If Wednesday. On What If Wednesday, I am going to talk to you about a potential scenario that could have happened. So, for instance, what if blank, right? And you fill in the blank. So here is my scenario today. I'm going to do a fun one that make you a little bit annoyed, but one that I do think about. That's why it's called What If, because the if is hypothetical. What if the Blues got into the playoffs this year instead of the Vegas Golden Knights? Do you think they would have been able to beat the Dallas Stars in the first round? So I know what you're thinking. Hale, Dallas is a significantly better team. Yes, but the Blues do play well-ish against them. I mean, listen, like, anything is possible, but I didn't think the Vegas Golden Knights also had the best series either, so I think about that, I'm like, what if we did play the Dallas Stars? Do you think that we would've been able to win that series? Now, I'm gonna say no. I think it would have gone to 6 games. But again, this is the beauty of this segment. I think that when you have 2 goalies, like a Jordan Binnington and a Jake Ottinger, 2 very talented goalies, you make for some great hockey. And the reason why I say the second wild card spot is because that's what it hypothetically would have been. I wish the Golden Knights just lost out. I was really rooting for that too. Everyone's like, "Oh no, you have to go against the Kings." I'm like, "No, no, no." Like I have a feeling it's gonna be the VGK that's gonna be ahead of us, and it was the VGK. So unfortunately, that is what happened. We did not make it, but if that case was that we did make it, I still think it'd been really interesting. And this season, I take a look back to all the games that we played. Obviously, the 2 preseason games we split with them. Stars won 4-3, and then we won 4-0. So we had a shutout win. So take that, Dallas. The Stars beat us in October 2-1. We beat the Stars in an OT 4-3 in December. We beat the Stars 2-1 in late December. We didn't meet again until April in Dallas, and the Stars beat us in a shootout in the final game of the season, 2-1. So I think it would have been a really good series. I mean, listen, I know that last game didn't really count for us because we wouldn't have got into the playoffs. But remember Bannister said after that final game that this game didn't matter. It mattered how the Blues went out. That meant something. And with all the games that we played against them, I mean, realistically, they were all within 1 goal when it was the regular season. So, who's to say that it wouldn't be a good series? And that is why Vegas Golden Knights, I am so mad at you because you took our playoff spot, even though it was yours, and ended up choking. Here's the thing. I feel bad because Joe Pavelski is retiring now. He did announce that to the media. And it was always so fun playing against him. I mean, Pavelski's one of those guys that obviously I think is so well respected around the NHL. But at the end of the day, I just like entertaining hockey if my team isn't in it. And I just wanted to be a little bit more entertained. Plus, with all the LTIR stuff, really? like, you know, Mark Stone might be injured all next season. And then when it comes to the playoffs, he'll be fine. And I know they did that to Petro, and people were a little bit annoyed about him. And I'm like, you know what? Screw you. That was my captain. Um, that's why with Alex and Ivan, I know that they're on the Golden Knights. I know no one's a fan of the Golden Knights, but I'm a fan of them. So last year I got super emotional seeing especially Pietrangelo hoist the cup again and talking about his family. It's insane. Just that man is a good dude off the ice. Um, but yeah, it makes you think hypothetically, what if the Blues made a playoff run again? But this team just didn't have the same specialness, making up a word, that 2018-2019 team did have. And I think that's why, while, it is fun to kind of think, "Oh, what if? What if?" It's not the same. It's not. You can't recreate a Cinderella story again. That only happens usually once in a lifetime. And I think for the Blues with, their long history of, coming to the league, getting to the finals, like 3 years, losing every single time, which was brutal. I wasn't alive luckily in 67, but brutal. And then you go on to get all these first, round eliminations, second round eliminations all the time. At least you make the playoffs, but still, like, what's worse, making the playoffs or being eliminated from the playoffs like that? To then having an interim coach come in Berube, turning the season around after being the worst team in the Western Conference in January and winning the cup as the road team for every single game. You had no home ice advantage, which is insanity to me. This team was so special. And I think that's why, especially when I think about the what if we didn't get rid of all of our guys? What if that team was able to stay a little bit together for a little bit longer? That could be another what if Wednesday. Now I'm going to go off and do like a million what ifs in this one scenario. But yeah, what if the Blues got into that second wild card spot position, not the Golden Knights, and play the Dallas Stars? I think Stars in 6, but I do think it would have been a good series. So let me know what you think down below. Before I talk about a player that I am missing a lot, I just want to let you know again, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, what you're watching on now here on Locked On Blues. Hit 1,000 subscribers today, which was absolutely amazing. I was kind of mind blown. Honestly, thank you. I said this in the beginning of the episode, but I love the Blues, and I think just talking about my favorite team every day has brought me such joy, and I really enjoy the conversations that you and I have. So thank you. Okay. I miss this one player a lot. He was with us for 1 season. 1 season. Who is it? Can you guess it? It was Pat Maroon. Oh my goodness, do I miss him. So, I will tell you why he made such an impact on me. Pat Maroon is one of those players that I feel like people just naturally like. He's a good player. He puts his all on the ice, but at the end of the day, he's a good person. And, I'm looking back at our playoff run, obviously. And, you know, it's difficult to see, but the emotion that he carries on the ice is so, so, so special. And, obviously being a St. Louis native, there's a special place in my heart for him, right? And there was a game where he was actually an Edmonton Oiler and he came played in St. Louis, obviously as an Oiler. And, he scored a goal and he did really well, right? After the game, the reporter was saying to him, she's like, or no, it was a guy, my bad. He was like, "Hey, Pat, what did this game mean for you?" And he got emotional and he began to cry and he said, "I really miss my son. Seeing my son in the attendance, did it for me." And after the Edmonton Oilers, he did go on to play for the New Jersey Devils. Well, luckily for us with Pat Maroon, he made a deal to return home in July 2018 to be closer to his son. And it was a 1 year deal. It was a $1.75 million contract. And I think at the end of the day, his return home to not only just being the one season that he had with the Blues, but to being the season where the Blues won their first cup in franchise history is actually insanity. You know, I think a lot about this. And I think about the impact that Pat Maroon left on me, that he left on the city. And I feel like, with the Kachucks too, I know obviously we love Keith Forever Blue. Both Matthew and Brady, during the All-Star game, uh, I believe which one of the boys was it? Matthew had a Cardinals hat on, so go Cards. But there is such a pride of being from St. Louis that these players truly do carry with them. And I think that for Pat Maroon to come home, um, and that being the first year that well, not even just the first year for him winning the cup, but the first year for us winning the cup is just so special. He won it twice in Tampa, so he's had multiple cups, but just it's something that I think about a lot, and I think watching the cup run and watching, the playoff games again and all of that, because I mean, I'm bored. What else am I gonna do? Um, it just makes me realize how much I truly do miss him being a part of this organization, a part of the team, and what he brought to the team. And I wanna know, is there a player that maybe didn't spend a lot of time on the Blues, spent a short period of time, but made an impact to you where you're like, "Wow, I'm really missing this player?" Because for me, it's Pat Maroon. And I think that too, it also is helpful that he is such a beloved player throughout the National Hockey League as itself, but he always has had this passion for St. Louis, and that is just something about him that I think that, um, was seen. And I get what you're gonna say is, at the end of the day, Pat Maroon, he's 36. I highly doubt, he's gonna, play for much longer just because that's older in hockey, not in life, but in hockey. And I think that for him to just finish out his career and just say, "Hey, listen, I played for my hometown team, helped them win their first ever franchise cup," that's something special. I feel like that whole season was so magical because it just all fell into place. And I think having Pat Maroon and having that out there, I mean, I I believe that he went to St. Louis University. He definitely played soccer in college. I remember that about Patty Maroon. But I miss him, and again, that just proposes a question for me to ask you. Who do you miss? Because I do want to know. St. Louis, I will talk to you tomorrow. A lot to talk about tomorrow, be more draft focus, but just some things. This happened last time where I'm like so close, and then all of a sudden I clicked the wrong button. All right, again, thank you for 1,000 subscribers, and I will talk to you tomorrow. And like always, let's go Blues.